Cool bike. Who makes it? Husaberg. Gesundheit. Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Today we're going to see what we can do with this Husaberg FE450. I don't remember what year it is, 2004. I'll look it up. But my buddy Jim picked this bike up and he got what I considered was an amazing deal on it. I'm not going to say the price, but he got a real good deal on it, but it doesn't run. Supposedly the engine had some work done to it, and then the owner couldn't get it to start. Anyway, I don't remember the entire story, but I got it to start a little bit for him over at his house. Then he removed the carburetor and I cleaned it, and he got it to start and idle. But it has always had an issue with the starter turning the thing over really slowly. Like that. And even if I put my booster on it, it's still doing the same thing. So we may have an issue with the starter or something else. But there's a lot of little things that we want to just verify on this. So we're going to go to the start of the entire thing, make sure that the timing is set correctly, and we will look at the valve clearance as well, and then I will probably pull the starter at that point. So let me get you all set up, and I'll remove the seat, which is very easy on this model. You just turn this thumb screw, the seat comes off. Interesting design. Filter is right here. There's no air box on the back. So once I take the tank off, you'll see how that carburetor routes up there to the filter. 2004 Husaberg. Those of you not familiar, Husaberg is a Swedish company, and I don't believe they exist anymore. KTM bought them out, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, something like that. Produced them for a little while. But anyway, we're going to get to checking the timing on this engine. Very similar to a KTM. There is a bolt somewhere down here. We'll figure out exactly where, right there. Kind of hard to see. And that will lock the crankshaft into position. And then we will remove the cam cover and check the timing on our top end. So I'm going to do that. Here's the routing from the carburetor up into the frame, which is actually the air box, and the air filter sits on top up here. Pretty interesting. Shock sits directly in the middle. All this is open in the back. All right, with the cam cover removed, we can see the camshaft here. It has an automatic decompression right there. I don't know if you can see that, how that works. That little half-rounded piece is actually going to hold one of the exhaust cams partially open as it turns, and then as the engine builds up speed, this arm right here is going to move like that due to centrifugal force, and then it will close. So this thing should be turning over a lot easier, considering that it has that. Now if the valves aren't adjusted properly, that could be a problem, so we'll check that. But first we're going to ensure that our engine is in time, and I think we've gone just past where we need to be. There's a little dot right there, and there's probably one on the other side, so we're going to have to turn it over until that dot and the one that is parallel to it are aligned. I've removed the bolt in the front here that I showed you, and that's right here. And it has this really thick copper washer. So what you do is, once you have these things aligned or very close to aligned, then you screw this bolt in, and in the crankshaft of the engine there's actually a little machined hole, and this will screw in there. That will lock the engine into top dead center. So let me get this close to aligned and I'll bring you right back and show you how this bolt thing works. Okay, turns out I was wrong. Who could have saw that coming? But the bolt doesn't just go back in there. You need a special tool, which I have fabricated out of my bucket of bolts here. If you can focus. I've taken this long, I think it's probably an old head bolt or something out of an engine I took apart. And I ground the end of it down. And this will make it nice because I can get in here now from far away. And hopefully it'll thread in there nicely. Let me get that threaded in and then I'll show you locking it into position. All right, I finally got this thing in here. And there's the dot on that side. And kind of hard to see, but there's the dot on that side. Let me get some light on it for you. There you go. So our cam is aligned. I've also used a scientific test of putting a pencil in the spark plug hole and watching the piston go up and down. So the piston is at top dead center. We're locked. Everything is lined up. Everything appears to be operating as it should at this point. So I do not think we have a cam timing issue. So next we will check the valves. And I already found the specs in the book here. I think it's 0.12 millimeters. So we'll install the cam cover and check those next. If you ever heard the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees, sometimes it applies. You know, you overlook the small things. So I went straight to checking the valve timing, which is something that my buddy Jim was concerned about. And just took this cam cover off and didn't even look at it. Look at this exhaust valve. Right here, this adjuster. It's completely loose. And with that thing being so loose, that valve would not open, and that automatic decompression would not have any effect on that valve. So, hey, we're gonna install this cam cover and adjust these valves. And RTFM, read the freaking manual. Let's see. Valve clearance, 0.12 millimeters. So these are screw and lock nut adjusters. So all you do is you put the feeler gauge in between. There's little pads on the bottom of these. So between the pad and the top of the valve stem. And then you just turn that screw in until you feel a slight drag on your feeler gauge, and then you tighten that lock nut. Obviously that lock nut wasn't tightened properly last time. All right, now with the valves adjusted and the cam cover back on and the spark plug in, spark plug wire is disconnected, we're turning over a lot better. So let's hook up this spark plug wire. See what happens. Choke is out. We'll spray a little bit of magic juice in here. How's that sound? Still nothing. All right, I put the tank back on and installed the fuel line, turned it on. We'll get a little boost on here. And yeah, I did spray a little bit of carb cleaner in there again, like I said. It's getting close. We got something out of her. Got a lot of stuff burning off of everything that I've been touching, I believe. Hopefully that's all it is, but... Boy, she was just idling just a second ago. But we are running without that air boot under here, and that means it's going to be running incorrectly, so I'm going to install that and we'll see what happens. Well, we got some water leakage here. I don't know exactly where, but this hose is all wet. I put the seat back on. Let's see how she runs now, or if she runs now. No, I don't want to start. All right, that's pretty warm. Let me try the hot start. Whew, it's loud, and lots of smoke coming off of everything here. Ain't been running a long time, I don't think. That oil looked kind of milky to me. I don't know about the rest of you, but here we got more water. I don't know where that's coming from. Well, we got her running, which is what I promised him I was going to do. And we obviously have some more issues, but you know, my buddy has never even ridden this motorcycle yet, so I'm going to ride it up and down my driveway just to show him. And it is leaking water furiously out of the water pump. So we got a problem still. This bike has a left side Kickstarter, and I've been able to kickstart it successfully a couple times, so let's see if we can kickstart it while I'm on camera. Fail number one. Starts decent on the Kickstarter. I'm going to bring it into the garage and we'll pull off the, oh, look at all the different lights. There we go. We'll pull off that side cover and take a look at that water pump seal. Perhaps I can fix it with stuff I got laying around. All right, I've drained the oil, removed the exhaust, removed this side cover, and this water pump shaft is looking kind of ugly. So I'm going to clean it up with this brass brush, and we'll see if that helps any. Maybe polish it up with some fine sandpaper. There's another seal. I thought there was just this seal here, but there's another seal on the case, and that's likely what our culprit is and why it's leaking water. But if I clean this up, maybe it will fix the problem. Doubtful. Look at the crack in this clutch cover here. I noticed it on the outside. but I didn't know it went all the way through. So that will probably have to be repaired at some point. I'm sorry, I was going to say that's the seal, but the seal is up here. Right there. And I sprayed it out with some WD-40, and then I put some white lithium grease on that. And then clean this shaft all up. I'll put some lube on that as well. But while I was working on it, something was catching my eye. Look at this bolt sitting out from these. And it's loose. Actually, it doesn't even tighten up in here. So, something funky with that. I'm guessing probably the clutch basket itself is broken in there. So, lucky we pulled this off. So after removing the clutch basket and all the clutch pressure plate, and all the clutch frictions and such, we can see this one turns. See how that turns? And it's not supposed to, obviously. My thoughts are that somebody removed this without the proper tools. So they probably jammed a screwdriver in here, broke that off, and it's likely got a screw or a bolt or something from the backside. We'll take a look at it. But the way that is, there's no way possible that you can get this thing tight. I had a hard time getting it off. What I ended up doing was jamming a screwdriver behind the head of the bolt, and I used my impact driver, and it started to come out. So I have to hammer this lock tab, then get a big socket, and I will show you the correct tool to hold this clutch basket on here. All right, a lot of times I will show how to use the wrong tool for the wrong job, but this is one where it's nice to get this clutch holding tool. It's not too expensive. I bought this off-brand Tusk, I don't know, 20 bucks or something. So that should hold that. Let's see if I can get you in the picture here. That should hold that while we loosen this semi-lock nut. And I already straightened out the tabs on this. So let's see if this thing comes out now. Oh, it looks ugly. I'll bring you back when I get it off of there. Sorry about that. This thing fought me all the way, but we got it. And look at that, just like I suspected. Someone broke that one off, or it broke off, and they reinstalled it. What I am going to do is we'll try to remove that, clean this all up, and put some red Loctite in there and get that nice and tight, and we'll hope that that will work. It's not a great fix, but I don't know how much money we want to spend on the Husaberg. Got the clutch back reinstalled, and I don't want to do it, but I'm going to order a new seal for this water pump. After doing some research, I found out that these grooves are not supposed to be here. So what happens is that seal eventually wears grooves into here. And most of them only have one groove. This one has two, so that tells me that it wore a groove in there and someone tried a different seal or a different seal position or something. So what's going to happen is I'm going to put a seal on there, and it's likely still going to leak, or it'll last a little while and then it'll leak. But doing some research, there's a Kawasaki seal and a KTM seal. People say work a little bit better. So I'm going to do a little bit more research. I'm going to order them up, and we'll get that installed. and we'll see if we can't get this thing to stop leaking water. And I don't know what else we're gonna do. We got a leaky fork seal. I've done enough forks that if I fix that, I probably won't do a video on it. But we'll see if we can't get this Husaberg holding her fluids. Part of the fun of working on an obscure brand like this is the fact that parts are not available everywhere, so you got to do a little bit of research. So for that water pump seal, they do make it. You can order it. Mostly overseas is your best place to find it, but I did a little bit of research and some different forums and that sort of thing, and the people were recommending to use a seal out of a KTM, out of one of the small KTM bikes, the KTM 65SX. And I also did some measuring, and I measured the depth of this this machined opening here, and there's enough room to put 2 seals, so I actually put one in backwards, and I put this one in. Now, the next part of this is getting this seal over this water pump shaft right here. Now, I know that you can't feel this, but there is kind of a sharp edge right here due to where the little circlip goes. That will tear those seals up. So what I'm going to do is put a piece of heat shrink on here and then use my heat gun just over the end of it, and we will hopefully be able to shrink that up enough where it will provide room for that seal to slide over this without it tearing it up. We'll get that side cover on there. I've also applied a new gasket. I was going to try to cheap out and reutilize the old one, but ordered a new gasket and put on with a little bit of, just a little touch of Permatex around here so that it doesn't slide out. Little trick worked like a champ. Other things you could do is possibly use a rubber glove, maybe not on a shaft that small, shaft, but like over one of these, maybe like you could use the pinky, put your pinky up when you drink your tea, of a rubber glove over something like that. But there you go, installed. So I got all these tightened up. I need to reinstall the hardware for the exhaust and then get this water pump cover put back on, hook everything up, and we'll fill it up with juice and see what happens. Well, it ain't been easy, but I got her back together. My buddies were just over here. I had a couple of friends over, and now we changed out 4 tires on some BMWs for them, 2 bikes. Part of the reason I say this wasn't easy is because I took this cover back off 2 more times because I didn't learn from my mistakes. This Kickstarter was not returning like that, and I took the cover off and then just put it back on again, and it still didn't work, and then I had to get to the bottom of it. So insanity, doing the same thing, expecting different results. Let's see if it runs. I've got oil in it, I've got water in it. Battery is not very good, so we'll see if it'll start. Rookie mistake, my buddy called my phone. I didn't have it on Do Not Disturb, but it did start right up, so. Of course, now it doesn't. And I don't see any water coming out of that weep hole yet, but I'm gonna run it for a while and we'll see what happens. Well, I got it running and fixed a couple things. I don't think it's perfect, but we'll let my buddy sort the rest of it out. I gotta say, I'm not overly feeling happy working on this bike. It's kind of a pain in the butt, and I don't know. I got some friends who like to buy odd items just because they're odd items, and I don't think that's the right mindset. If you're gonna buy something odd, You know, there has to be advantage to it, and all I'm seeing on this thing is disadvantages, but it's cool looking. I did take it out on the street, got it up into top gear, and it runs. That's all I got to say about that. If you're digging what I'm putting out, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and if you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.